The German playwright and poet Friedrich Hebbel said in one of the most famous phrases about fear, that many do not believe in anything, but fear everything. And it is just an expression that very well illustrates the feelings of many around Latin American horror legends. We say we don't believe in ghosts or specters of evil, but we read these stories, and even more so, we are in situations like the ones that are narrated to us, and a wave of terror seizes us. But this time we will immerse ourselves in the folklore of the peoples of the South to bring you their best Latin American legends of terror. Are you ready for this trip? Well, let's get started. The 10 most horrible Latin American horror legends. If we talk about cultural richness, in South America we find a wide, diverse territory, full of color, gastronomy and tradition. The curiosities of Latin America take us on a journey in which the wealth is infinite. Landscapes and natural resources are combined with an ancestral cultural servo. Terrifying souls in pain, wandering spirits, macabre animals and evil goblins star in some of the most horrifying Latin American horror legends. Let's see which ones arouse the most fear. 1. El Tunch, from Peru. We begin this journey through Latin American horror legends by telling you about El Tunch. It is about a lost soul that wanders through the jungles of Peru, terrorizing everyone who crosses his path. It is announced with a loud whistle, with which it communicates its proximity. The myths of the regions where the Tunch appears say that if its whistle is felt near a specific town or house, it will be announcing bad luck, illness and death that will soon devastate the place. The curious thing about this legend is that it is about a character who is neither good nor bad by essence. The Tunch will be reflected in the heart of the person you meet. If he comes across someone bad, he will make him pay for all the pettiness he has committed. But if he finds a kind person instead, it won't do him any harm. 2. La Llorona, from Mexico. And one of the Latin American horror legends that has crossed borders and reached the most remote corners of the world is that of La Llorona. It is not surprising that one of the most traditionalist countries in the region comes from Mexico. The myth tells the story of a woman who wanders through the streets, cities and towns of the country, plunged into bitter, inconsolable and eternal crying. It is described as a lanky woman, who walks dressed in white and vanishes in the light of dawn. There are several theories about its origin, but the most widespread is the one that defends that in life it was the wife of a Spaniard at the time of the conquest. A man wanted to leave her and she, in the midst of her despair, murdered her 3 children, drowning them in a lake, in which she would later also commit suicide. Her soul in pain would be condemned to cry for her children for all eternity. 3. The Guiangi, from Ecuador. The Guiangi joins the Latin American horror legends that cause true horror in everyone who knows it. There are 2 widespread versions of it. The first tells that the soul in pain appears in the form of an innocent baby, a little one who died without being baptized. The victim hears his inconsolable crying, and as the little boy approaches, he changes his appearance into that of a terrible demon that causes him great misfortune. The second version about the Guiangi tells that it is really the lost soul of an innocent baby who actually died without being baptized but does not do any harm to whoever finds it. Far from it, he cries asking for the help of whoever finds him. He just wants to be baptized so he can rest in peace. 4. La Sayona, from Venezuela. In the depths of the plains of Venezuela, one of the most epic Latin American legends of terror is born, which has served to frighten and punish womanizers and unfaithful men. It is about the Sayona, a tall woman, with long black hair and very beautiful, who seduces travelers who move along the dark and lonely roads waiting for unfaithful men to whom they give the scare of their lives and thus punish their ills. Behaviors. This woman was called Casilda, and she was so insanely jealous that she murdered her husband and her mother because she thought they were having an affair. Her mother, in the last minutes of agony, cursed her, "Sayona Tesseris forever, and in the name of God so be it." Like this, since the day Casilda died, her soul wanders in pain looking for unfaithful men. First he conquers them with his great beauty, and then he kills them. Those who manage to survive him will never be unfaithful again in their lives. 5. The Yacuruna. From Peru. The Yacuruna is one of the strongest and most powerful spirits in Peru and the protagonist of one of the best-known Latin American horror legends. It is believed that it inhabits Amazonian lakes and rivers, and is frequently invoked by healers and shamans. Through its invocation, both good and evil can be done, since its power can be channeled according to the interests of the sorcerers. But, beyond that, it is said that the Yacuruna has the power to become a very attractive man. With its charms, it attracts young women to its waters. Once there, he plunges the maidens to the bottom of the water and is never seen again. 6. La Patasola de Colombia. Colombia is another of the picturesque lands that contribute to the folklore of South America. In this case, among the Latin American legends of terror, that of the Patasola stands out. The myth about this soul in pain says that in life she was a beautiful girl who had a reputation for being libertine and extensive in her sexual life. But she lived in a conservative town, where she was seen with bad eyes. As punishment for her behavior, the men of her village cut off her leg and then threw her alive into a bonfire. Since then, the lost soul of the Patasola appears in Colombian towns, with its terrifying image. She is a woman with one leg ending in a hoof, a single breast, a large mouth and a hooked nose. In revenge, the hideous creature hunts down and feeds on the men whom it seduces with an idyllic song. When he manages to conquer them and make them go deep into the forest or thickets, he torments them to death. 7. El Chupacabra, from Puerto Rico. And if we talk about Latin American horror legends, one of the most popular in the contemporary years is that of the Chupacabra. Perhaps you remember hearing references to this hideous monster on tabloid television channels. It is about an unidentified animal that devastated the corners of Puerto Rico, devouring the animals. The most widespread description of the Chupacabra was that made by a Puerto Rican housewife who referred to the creature as a kind of rare kangaroo over 3 feet tall with wings on its back and very sharp fangs that hunts for animals. Those who suck their blood until they kill them. 8. El Tío, from Bolivia. Bolivia is our next stop to talk about Latin American horror legends. In this South American nation we meet the uncle, a spirit that is considered the god of the underworld. In popular culture, power over the lower worlds, which they call basements, is attributed to him. He is represented as a half-human and half-animal figure that protects the men who work in mining. Those who offer him children as offerings are protected in their labors in the mines, but those who refuse to please him will be victims of total ruin and destruction. 9. The family member from Argentina. Now we go to Argentina, where one of the most terrifying Latin American horror legends became popular. It is the story of the familiar, a spectral creature that is believed to be the very incarnation of the devil and all his evil. It comes in the form of a dog, sometimes without a head. Other versions say that it can also be seen as a hairy snake. What is said about this myth is that the family member wanders the farms looking for pawns to devour. In those where it finds prey to eat, the specter rewards the landowner with good harvests and fortune. 10. The Silban, from Venezuela. And we close this trip through the most terrifying Latin American legends of terror, back to the plains of Venezuela and Colombia. The legend of El Silvan is perhaps one of the most popular in the region. It tells the story of a boy who murdered his father, and since then his soul was condemned to wander the roads, dragging a sack with the bones of his father. There are two versions of the origin of the myth. The first refers to the fact that the boy would have killed his father in a fit of rage after finding out that he had had an affair with his wife. But there is another version, even more terrifying. In it is said that the boy was a deranged and extremely cruel man, who one fine day became infatuated with a deer for lunch. Since his father could not hunt the animal, the young man killed it, opened its body and ended up devouring its liver and heart. Those who know about this popular Latin American horror legend say that he has a particular whistle that becomes unmistakable. You have to be very attentive in this sense. If you feel the nearby widgeon, you can rest easy, because it will be very far away. On the other hand, if you hear the whistle in the distance, it means that you have it very close to you. In short, Latin American horror legends are just a small sample of the ancestral wealth of the peoples of South America, in which the fusion of races was felt in culture, food, customs and, of course, the most terrifying myths. Friends, thank you very much for watching my videos. I hope you liked it. I invite you to subscribe to my channel, share with your friends on social networks. I would appreciate it if you hit the like button and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos.